Heyo YouTube, what's happening? We're back, part two. We're making this YouTube thumbnail video component here. We got our image, we got our title, we got our ellipsis, also known as three dots. We've got our morvert, also known as three dots. We've got our hover. Now let's get into some of the state. So if you recall, we have a thumb URL and a preview URL. The preview URL is a GIF. So let's go to our video component here, and in our state, we'll add preview state of false to start with. All right. And make something else called preview flag, and that's going to be true. And let me just bring up so we can reference it and whatnot. I'm just going to bring up the YouTube site so we can look at the component, see how it's going to pop if you hover. It's going to go into about a 3-second long sort of clip of the video, like a little preview of what's in the video. So that is what we're going to work here. Like I said, I've already made the GIFs on my own. So what we're actually going to do is use, we're going to use on mouse enter to help manage that state. So whenever you enter into the component is what triggers that preview. So I'm going to say if this dot state dot preview flag, then we're going to set state, and we're going to set that preview over to true, and we're going to kick that preview flag over to false. All right, and then we're going to say on mouse leave this dot set state preview false, and preview flag true. And here we can destructure state off of the this object. So we'll get preview. Then for our image source here, this is the great part about using a GIF, because you get the animation and you can also stick it into the image. That is key, as opposed to like a video or something. That would be, you could do it with a video, but I think in my opinion, it'd just be a little more complicated. You got to shrink the video to the right size. You got two different components, so it's just easier to use a GIF. Preview URL. All right. So save that. Wait a second here. So right now those preview video.thumb URL. So preview is false. Let's set up our event listeners here. Something seems a little strange. I might have something backwards somewhere. We'll just assign our event listeners like that. On mouse leave, on mouse enter. Preview is false to begin with. Therefore, if preview, oh, I do have them backwards. I was like, why are those previews running right now? So the preview, obviously you want the preview URL. And when it's not, the thumb URL. Okay, that makes more sense. Sometimes it gets tricky when you have to talk and code at the same time and also think. It's hard to do 3 things at once. So, okay, there we go. That's better. Now they're not running. Now you hover over it and it comes on. But see, we don't really want that repeating effect there. We only want it to run the one time. And then it goes back to the thumbnail. Right? So that is where that preview flag kind of comes in. So what I'm going to do here is say this dot timeout equals a set timeout. Oops, equals set timeout. And inside that set timeout, I'm just going to do an anonymous arrow function that calls this dot set state. It kicks that preview over to false. It kicks that preview flag back over to true. And then I'm going to put on 3 seconds because that's the length basically of those GIFs, right? So this means if we don't leave, if we just hover over the thumb, if mouse enter fires, of course, but mouse leave does not fire, we essentially fire the same function 3 seconds later. So you'll see it in action here. After 3 seconds, boom, it returns back to its original thing. And since I haven't actually left, that mouse enter is not going to fire again, right? So but one kind of glitch with that could be if you leave a couple times, you start to pile up set timeout. See, that snapped it off really quick when you didn't want to snap it off real quick. See, it's too quick. Basically, because you're leaving and entering, you're building up these set timeouts. Because each time that on enter event happens, it's firing this function again. And these set timeouts are funky. So you need to explicitly clear that timeout like that. That way we're always getting that proper 3-second interval, right? We're always getting that 3-second. We're not getting that quick effect. So that's what we want to do. We want to get rid of that timeout. Okay, so that's that. Next thing we're going to do, I guess, we could pop in some of the user information. So underneath, right here, we have the title. Underneath the title, let's make another div, give it a class name, user. And inside of there, we're going to want to put, we're going to use the video.author. And if the video got verified, that's that check circle. So if you look on the YouTube page, certain users will have the tech lead guy over here. He's pretty good, by the way. Shout out to the tech lead. Watch his videos. He's kind of funny, and he seems to be experienced. So this little check circle is when you're official. So in here, let's import that check circle. That's from material/check circle. So very similar to Morvert, just replace check with check circle. And we'll pop that in there only when verified. Of course, that's going to look weird because we have to style it because we got to set the size of this thing to be right? So over in styles, we are going to add some styling for the user. That's going to be in this bottom right after title. I don't like how they don't show. I don't know how they don't show the other side of a bracket in this editor. I like when the editor shows you which bracket so you don't get things nested incorrectly. So let's see here. Bottom titles on this line, so we want to keep it on the same line here. So I think that's the right spot. That's why I really hate. I hate it when they do this to me. Yeah, that's right. All right, so here just set overall font size 1.4 rem. Color is gray. And then the SVG width of 1.5 rem. Height 1.5 rem. Hopefully that, yeah, there we go. So that works. That looks good. Next thing is underneath that we have views and the time. So we'll create another div underneath the user div, and we'll just call this one info class name, I guess. And in here, just put video.views, views. And this is the code for the bullet that goes in between. And basically, we have to come up with, this is where we do something with the date. Of course, I'll show you what it's going to look like initially. In styles, we can actually apply the same styles to .info as we did to .user, so we can just comma separated list for those two right there. So the problem with that is this date is not formatted. This is the raw date. And I suppose we could have come up with a function for dealing with when the views are like a big number. If it's over, it's over 1,000, you start to get a K, and even users with millions of views get an M. Yeah, those are harder to find though. Oh, there's 1.2 million views. It's a lot of views. So we could come up with a function like that. I might do something like that. I haven't actually come up with that at this point. But I did come up with a date formatting function here. So let me show you this date formatting function. So this is why we have the date fn's library that we installed before, because they have a format distance a format distance function that's really going to help us out here as a helper function. So we're going to say function format date. That's going to take a date. And then we're going to return format distance. You have to give that an actual date. So we're going to put that date into a new date constructor. And then you compare it. So this is, first one is the date that you're kind of displaying, and then this is the date to compare it to. So it's going to be the distance between the two dates. You know, with basically with the first date would be the date in the past, and you know, the second date is now, or whatever date you're comparing it to, I guess. And we're actually going to say, we're actually going to run a little replace function on here. We're going to replace following words: about, almost, less than, over, and we're replacing that with an empty nothing. And then we'll run .trim after that. So it's going to pretty print that. So that's just getting rid of about, almost, less than, or over. Sometimes they use an extra word in there, and I don't want that extra word. I just kind of want the digit. So over here, we just feed this date into our format date function, like so. And now we're going to get, yeah, so if I didn't use that regex, it might say about 4 days ago, or over 6 months ago. So we didn't want that, because that's not how it's presented here on YouTube. So that's the only thing you have to, you know, date fns is cool. It gives you the main guts of the function, but I had to add a little extra to it. And I think the trim is just to get rid of any extra space that might be lingering because we removed any of these words. All right, so there's that. That's pretty cool. Next thing, why don't we do the watch? We do the watch later icon that appears up here. That's this icon here. We could do that. So that's another thing from the styled icons. We'll bring that in. That's also from material. Same import style as those. So let's pop that in there, and that's going to go, put that right underneath this image right now. Last name, we'll say watch. And we'll plop that icon right down in there. And of course, that looks horrible until we style it. And that's located inside the top underneath the image. So we say .watch. Give it some styles. And this is actually going to be absolute position. We're going to say display none for now. Top will be 5 pixels, right will be 5 pixels. So this is how far in from the sides it's going to be. So since we're putting it inside of top, right now it's going to, let me save it. Oh, it's got position none on it. Let me get rid of this, or display none. Let me get rid of that real quick so we can see it. So I don't even know where that thing is right now. In this top, we're going to put position relative. So that means this top div is going to catch any absolute position stuff. So all this coordinates here are based on being within this top div, right? So for now, let's just keep it at display none. It'll all work out. So we'll do a background. Of 0.75. Border radius 2 pixels. And there's going to be an SVG that we need to style in here. Width of 2 rem. Height also of 2 rem. Color is white. Opacity 0.8. And I'll give it an overall margin 0.4 rem. And now, okay, it's displaying none, so what we're going to do here is down here, right after more vert, we can actually say, and hover watch, meaning when we hover the whole entire element here, the whole entire component, we target this watch and we just run the same exact thing that we did with the more vert icon, right? Now when we hover, just like our more vert, now we're getting our watch icon, and you'll see it's five pixels from the top, 5 pixels from the right. That's why we set it. That margin gives it the space. That black is our background. That white is our icon. That's why we did all those styles right there. And next thing, we might as well go right down the board here. So we got duration. We got our video duration that pops up down in the corner. And that's actually a little more permanent. That actually stays with the video. So we have to come up with a way to put that in there too. So that's going to be another absolutely position thing. So all that duration. Inside of here, we have the video duration. Right now, it looks like crap. It's pushed out of the div. It's just a seconds. We need to format that into a time here. So how are we going to do that? I have a function for that too, but first let's throw some styles on there. And you know what, since the styling, I'm just going to start speeding the process up a little bit on the styling. It's in the top. It's after watch, so it's going to go right here. It's going to plop in the whole style thing. So it's absolute position, it's 7 up from the bottom, 5 over from the right, z-index of 2. Now, I think that's just to make sure that it doesn't fall behind anything else. So it stacks in front of the images. Font size, font weight of bold. Give it transparent black background, white text, border radius of 2, and a little padding. So nothing crazy. So we'll save that. And now we've got our seconds appearing where they're supposed to be, although it's not formatted, that's just the raw seconds. So this gets a little funky, but I've got some good functions for this, and I'll walk you through them. So I've got 2 functions here. One is called format time string, and the other is called format duration. And this format time string is a helper function for my format duration function. In other words, I'm calling format time string from within here. So first thing we're going to do is, if the seconds is null, return nothing. That's not really applying here because we know our input is relevant. We have set seconds of duration in there. So you can actually create a new date, multiply the seconds by 1000 to get the milliseconds now, and use a method that's built into JavaScript called toISOstring, and then take a substring of that. So basically, holy moly, basically you can say, new date toISOstring, and that's what you get. You get this whole long, you get the date, you get the time, you get time zone thing. So all we're interested in is the certain part where it gives you the time, and that's why we take that substring. Starting at the 11th index, we take the next 8 things here, but see, we have this leading 0 when we do that, and we don't want leading zeros. For example, if we had what is that, 10-second long video, we'd have a time string with 4 leading zeros, and we don't want those leading zeros like that. So that's where the format time string comes in handy, and it looks for that 0, or it looks for the colon, and if it finds a 0 or colon and the string length is greater than 4, right? If the string length is greater than 4, so it's not going to chop down and just display 1 0 for 10 seconds. But if it finds that colon or a 0 leading, it's going to get rid of it so long as that string is greater than 4, right? And it's just going to feed it back in to the format string function, and slicing off string.slice1 basically means forget the first character, the leading character. We only are making a copy of the rest. So it's a recursive function, and it just basically mows down leading zeros and leading colons. So that's why we call that on whatever we get back from the ISOstring substring. So we get rid of the leading zeros is the bottom line. And that's the basic explanation of how those function works. I've seen a lot of different stuff out there where people make all kinds of crazy functions to try to format times like this, or durations, I guess. But that's the way to do it right there. And that works up to, it actually would, if the video is longer than 10 hours, you'd actually need to take a longer substring. You'd have to change your substring, but in reality, videos aren't often longer than 10 hours long. So we don't have to worry about that. But in any event, there you have it. There's our nicely formatted duration snuggled into the bottom corner. And we've only got a few things left. I want to show you how to do the menu. When you click this button, we'll get a menu. And I know when you hover over this icon, there should be a tooltip. Yeah, that watch later tooltip. There's a play icon you sometimes see. Like if you stay hovered over something, you get a play icon. I guess we could maybe try to work that in. It's like if you stay hovered and you don't move the mouse, you get that play icon. And I think that's pretty much it. The main thing left is the pop-up and the watch later. And that'll be it. So that'll be the last video. This one's about half an hour in the book, so we'll call it here. And we're doing good. We'll see you in the next one.